What's going on, guys? Chandler here. So this is going to be my new segment on my YouTube channel called First Listen Review that is taken from my $5 tier full album reactions. So I react to the entire album, and then at the very end I give my overall thoughts and initial thoughts and a score on the album as a whole. So again, if you do like what you see and want to support the channel going forward, head over to patreon.com/Chandler Burton Entertainment. This is exclusive to the $5 tier. Again, you get a full album reaction, review, and a whole bunch of other perks as well if you guys are interested. And again, there's always a link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the review, and thank you all so much for watching. Wow, what a journey. Was it a good journey or was it a bad journey? I'm actually really excited to talk about it. I have a lot of notes here. I filled up my entire notepad of stuff. So let's talk about it. I'm going to give my first listen review, which is, again, I just give my overall thoughts and things that stuck out to me on the first time listening to the album. So that is coming up next. So let's talk about this album. I'm excited. All right, my friends, so again, that was Parkway Drive's new album, Darker Still. We just got done jamming the entire thing here. So I actually burnt my hand yesterday at work, and I want to see what was more painful, my burnt hand or this new album from Parkway Drive. Jokes aside, I really did burn my hand. That's not a joke. But jokes aside, this album was fine. It's definitely not going to make my top 10 of the year, but it definitely had some elements on there that I rather enjoyed. So let's go and talk about some of the pros here. So pro number one, I'm going to say Winston's vocals. I think he is very good and very consistent with his vocals. Even the singing that is incorporated on this album, which I never thought Parkway Drive would ever incorporate any type of singing. Same with like bands like August Burns Red. I'm just so used to them just screaming in all their songs that I'm just like, it might be cool to hear some singing. And so hearing Winston do some singing, although it's not like groundbreaking or anything, it sounds pretty good. But his screaming when he really gets into it is still really good. He, just like Ryan Kirby, his enunciation with his vocals are really, really good. You can understand what he's saying when he's screaming and when he's singing as well. And again, I think they incorporated some really good elements. Winston definitely, I think, was the cog in the machine when holding this album together personally here. And again, he still sounds great 20 plus years later. He just sounds absolutely fantastic. Better than ever, if I'm going to be honest. He sounds fantastic. Another thing I really liked about this here is that I really did like the journey and the storytelling that they were trying to tell. There is a little interview, well, I guess a written interview with Winston with Apple Music that I'm going to put on screen for you guys to read along with me here. It kind of talks about the album, and I really like what they're trying to portray here. So it says, the album represents a journey through darkness. Parkway Drive lead vocalist Winston McCall tells Apple Music about the Aussie metalcore band's 7th record. It was never designed to be a concept album, but the way we make music is always album-based. We're not a singles band. We write a cohesive piece of art, and this one happened to be centralized around the concept of the dark night of the soul. And I think, honestly, a lot of the songs on here really do represent, darkness, and they represent the things that we go through as people. It's just human nature that we're going to go through, darkness or really dark times, especially again, like, still dealing with the pandemic. I had to go to the freaking urgent care the other day, and we still have to wear masks, and there's still people sick with COVID and those types of things. And so it's very hard right now still. Like, a lot of people think it's over, but it's really not over. And not just that, there's still a lot of things going on in the world that are still dark, and I think this album is definitely going to relate to people who are still struggling or in the midst of struggling. I think they could find a song that will really help them get over those trials that they're having. So I think the journey that they were able to tell with this was absolutely fantastic. And then the last thing that I'll say, Darker Still, the title track, was awesome. Now, in my pros, we'll talk about here as well. I'm sorry, my cons, there's a few things with the songs I didn't like, but Darker Still, I think, is legitimately like a perfect song. Like, I really think it was super unique, and I think, as I said, if you're going to name your song after, the title track, it's got to bring the heat. And I felt like this one was different, and it actually worked. I really like Winston's vocals on this here, and a really good guitar solo. Like, for me, no, I think you got to bring the heat or try something new, and I think they've tried something new and absolutely absolutely brought something really cool to the table with the title track. I thought it was really, really cool. Now let's go ahead and jump into some of the cons. There's quite a few cons, so let's jump into it. So as much as I didn't hate this album, like everyone else, again, I do not think it's great, there are some cons that I really feel drug this album down big time. I'd say number one is that there are plenty of songs on this album that I'm going to skip. Like, I just feel like they are just not good songs. So for an example, Imperial Heretic, as much as I like the riff on that song was like a nothing song to me. Like, it just, I don't know. That one, it was fine, but I just don't feel like going back to that song. Also, Land of the Lost, again, it had that really cool ending part. I thought it was really sick, but the rest of the song, I just thought was super bland and super boring and just honestly didn't need to be on the album. I really didn't like that song. And then I think the worst song on the album is If a God Can Bleed. That was the cheesiest song ever. Like, a little piggy digging around in the mud. You know what I mean? I don't like that. That was such a throwaway song for me, and I think totally could have been left off the album. It didn't need to be on there. Another thing is there were no really big surprises with this album, except for Darker Still. Like, I think Darker Still was definitely subverted my expectations, and I really, really liked it a lot. But every song, you kind of know what you're going to get. Again, I didn't expect anything from, like, the Horizon, Deep Blue, Killing with a Smile era. Like, I didn't expect any of that, but these songs are really predictable, and like, you kind of know what you're going to get with this new Parkway Drive. If you're still, if you're a fan of this new stuff, you'll definitely get that. It's just very predictable, is I guess what I'm trying to say here. And I gotta be honest with you guys here, while I think the journey of this album is really good, I really think some of the songs on here are laughably bad. Like some of the lyrics on here are just not good. Like, again, I talked about, like, piggy rolling around the mud, or the beginning of Land of Lost is like, dig! And it's so cheesy to me. A lot of the other songs are really well written. Like, again, you look at a song like The Greatest Fear, super well written. And then you have songs like, the bottom half of the album that just don't work for me here. Some of it reminded me of Five Finger Death Punch, and I gotta be straight up, this may be a hot take, but I hate Five Finger Death Punch. And so the songs on here, there were some really good songs, but then there was also some really bad songs. So it's a bummer that we had, a really bad songs throughout the album. It's just, it is what it is, but, I wish some of these songs were a little bit better. Top 3 favorite songs from this album here. I gotta say, number 1, Darker Still. Again, I didn't do a reaction to it here. I was doing some other reactions. I kind of skipped that one. I actually didn't really realize they put out a new song until I saw it on my, because I downloaded the album on my phone, and it said a new song has been available, but I didn't listen to it. But I missed the song doing a reaction, but I really liked it, man. I thought this was a really cool song. Again, super unique, super awesome. I thought they did a really good job with the title track here. I really like Soul Bleach. Again, it's kind of a bummer that the heavier songs are better, because I don't want to like them just because they're heavy, but on this song, it's very simple, but it's also really heavy. It's really effective, and Winston's vocals are really good on this one. Like, his screaming, like, it's so good. So Soul Bleach, again, if you're like looking for a heavier Parkway Drive song, this is the one for you. Soul Bleach is the one. And then I gotta say, honestly, From the Heart of the Darkness, while that riff was really repetitive, it was heavy. Winston's vocals sounded really good on that song as well. So that song definitely held my attention. Honestly, the beginning of the album as well, there was a few good, like Napalm was pretty good, and so my top 3 songs may change over time. There are more songs I go back to than skip on this album, per se, and so my top 3 songs may change in the near future. As I said throughout the reaction, I actually did read a couple of reviews before I started doing the reaction, because a lot of people were saying this album was really good, and some people were saying this album is truly awful, like trash, like terrible. I did not hate the album. I think there's more positives than cons with this album for me here, but also, that being said, I don't know if I will revisit this album. I listened to, when Reverence came out, I jammed it for a couple of weeks straight, and I liked it, and I have not listened to it since 2018 when it dropped. So when it dropped, I listened to it for a few weeks, and I haven't listened to it since. So I feel like this is going to be the case with this album. I feel like there's going to be a couple songs on here that I will listen to, for the next couple of weeks, because, it's new. you know, I'll probably jam some songs in my runs and my exercise stuff, you know, but I feel like after a few weeks or a month or so, I'm just gonna toss this album to the side and be like, it was fine, but I have no need to go back to it. I just have to be honest with you guys here. While again, there were definitely some high moments and some really cool moments on this album, like again, Soul Bleach, From the Heart of Darkness, Darker Still, like Napalm, like even the Greatest Fear, even parts of Glitch, I didn't mind that much. They had some really cool moments in it, but again, I just feel like after a few weeks, I'm just gonna forget it, you know? And that's a real bummer, because I think Parkway Drive is extremely talented, and I think they're really nice people who deserve all the success in the world, because they absolutely deserve it. But for me, this album was just kind of bare bones, like in the middle, you know, rock metalcore album. Like nothing really drew my attention too much, again, except for a few songs. So I'm gonna give Parkway Drive, Darker Still a 6 out of 10. Like I feel like that's pretty fair. Again, I didn't hate the album, I didn't love the album, so I think somewhere in the middle is pretty fair, for at least for me personally here. So I'm going to give this album 6 out of 10. Who knows, you know, again, I don't expect super heavy from Parkway Drive anymore, but again, there's just only a few songs I'd probably go back to, and I'll probably skip, you know, in the near future.